Avon and Maine.
All right, this is the Committee of the Whole. This is Monday, February 10th, 2020. We're at 6 p.m. I have Councilor Capone. I have Councilor DeFlorio.
Yeah.
I have Councilor DePiero.
Here.
I have Councilor Heelan.
Yes.
I have Councilor Marchese.
Yes.
I have Councilor Martin.
Yes.
And I have Councilor Napolitano.
Yes, here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 members present. We do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. If we please stand and salute the flag.
The only item on the agenda is a resolution up by Councilor Michael McLaughlin that is honored the mayor consider use of 65% of the Encore Casino revenue to reduce the taxes in the city.
I guess the sponsor is running a little late. Should we wait for the sponsor to come? What would you like?
No, yeah. A quick question for you. I know that we asked specifically for the mayor to be here. I see our CFO, but is the mayor in attendance this evening?
I don't see the mayor. Is the mayor going to be here?
I know that the mayor is here. I've met with him a couple of times today. I know that he has been meeting with people all afternoon.
Okay. Because one of the things, Madam President, on this is because the spending of these funds is a policy matter, I was pretty specific at our last meeting that we need him personally to be here so that he can discuss with us what his plans are. Because as qualified and as competent as our CFO is, he can't read his mind, he can't know exactly what he's thinking, what the thought process is, and how to respond to questions. So while we're waiting for the sponsor, I guess we should
So would you like to take
see
a
if we can
10-minute
get-
recess
yeah,
and see if we can get the mayor
think
down
so.
here also?
I think so.
So
Thank you.
10-minute recess. Second? Do I have a second? All in favor? All opposed? You have adjourned for 10 minutes. We're going to reconvene the meeting. The sponsor, I did see the sponsor. Is that correct? Yep. Okay, the mayor's here also. So do I have a motion to invite the mayor up?
Second.
Reconvene, yeah. I do have a motion, I do have a second, Mr. Mayor? Council McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Mayor, good evening. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I had put a piece on the calendar after Councilor Marchese had put 75% proposal from the Encore money to go towards the tax revenue this year, and you had vetoed it, not understanding that the veto had come because it legitimately had to come from you, that the veto in powers that was the process. I'm not sure if I missed the communication from our city clerk, Emilio, but I wasn't aware of it. So I put a piece back on the calendar trying to figure if 75% was too high, that's why you vetoed it, would it be more acceptable at 65%? Or trying to find a middle of the road approach to this solution. When I put it on, then we found out some more information that evening that our city clerk had shared with us the next morning through email to explain a little bit more of the process. So that's why this is before us this evening. But honestly, what we were looking for, Council Marchese, I don't want to speak for him, but I know what I was looking for, which is the taxes are high in our city. And people voted for Encore with the intent that taxes would be lower. And we were hoping to be able to see lower taxes than what they are today. And so that's kind of where we were with this. If you could share some light on this, but that's why it's back before the council where you vetoed the 75%. It was just trying to find some sort of balance.
Yeah, so, we have the second lowest tax bill what people pay in the state, right? Single homeowners, second lowest tax bill in the state. Metro Boston, okay. So I know no one likes to pay taxes. No one likes to pay taxes, water, or any of those fees. The entire amount of the Encore Boston Harbor agreement is a revenue source, just like someone who pays excise tax or their any revenue source automatically municipal finance. It automatically reduces the amount of money we have to raise from taxpayers. So 100% of the Encore money goes to offset taxes. Unless we continue to raise the budget, right? Unless we raise the budget, then that revenue source would offset increases to the budget. So we've been very diligent in trying to reduce any costs that we can incur on taxpayers, right? We cannot, employers, their health costs, their pension costs, the amount of capital improvements you want to do is where we can defray any costs associated to residents. I mean, in one calendar year, we gave the school department $20 million. I don't know if we all forgot that, but that $20 million could have significantly reduced more taxes. But we were unfortunate. We had to use that money because the prior superintendent had hired 100+ employees outside the school budget. And when was asked by the task force why he did that, he just wanted to know what would happen. So that's not the kind of government that we stand for, but we wanted to save those jobs, and we did. And we offset, we spent $20 million there. But you're going to continually see reductions in people's tax bills because we're not going to continue to raise our city budget. And, I proposed a budget. It's up to the city council to either agree with me that we need 100+ firemen, 120+ police officers, X amount of public works employees, X amount of city hall personnel. Other than that, if you don't, if we don't want to improve streets and sidewalks, or we don't want to do, in which I know you all do, and you guys have been great. The entire council, I got to say, has been great with infrastructure improvements, doing parks over, the lights that we just appropriated, the additional $1 million to do all the way to the Malden line. I think you all find you find that value in improving, bike paths or parks but we have an aggressive capital improvement plan that's going to come before you. We also going to show to you a lot of our debt that's falling off, right? Our long-term debt that will be falling off our budget in these next few years from all the schools that we built, right? We built these schools under the Rigucci administration. All that debt is now falling off. We're going to replace that debt with looking to, possibly relocating the stadium, possibly renovating this building. Possibly, we renovated now, we're done with all the fire stations. We're going to be looking to, build a new police station. I think things that you all somewhat agree with doing. So to answer your question, it's not 75%, it's not 60%, it's 100%. It's a revenue source. Just like any revenue that comes in, we use to offset taxes. So I was miffed when I saw that Councilman Marchese put the 75% and you put the 65% because it's not, I'm not looking to attack anyone, but unless I said we're going to put 20 million out of this year's taxes into a infrastructure fund, then that 20 million would have went directly into that.
And the only reason I put this on was just because I was trying to find a middle of the road, because you know as well as we all do that the people of Everett are really getting hurt in the taxes, and it's a trickling effect. A landlord, taxes get higher, it trickles down to a tenant.
Just so you know, when taxes go down, I don't know any landlord who's reducing rents.
I agree with you.
I don't know any landlord. So when I see posts like that if my taxes are low, I'd reduce rents, I laugh. I laugh at that stuff because
but it's a reverse
taxes
cycle.
may go down, but house insurance goes up, cost of maintenance goes up, plowing, whatever,
Cost of doing business with
everything goes up. So no one reduces. The only way we can reduce rents is by producing more housing. That's the only way you can produce. When you want to lower rents, talk about affordable housing. Everyone talks, oh, we build this luxury housing, No, the more units we put on the market, we will reduce the burden to taxpayers, reduce the burden of rental costs. It's a supply and demand. When demand's high and the supply is low, it's economics.
Absolutely.
People are going to gouge and get more money for their 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, right? So that's why I've been really hammering on the public transportation system, the center lane bus lanes, the bike paths, the civil line extension, the commuter rail stop. A better transit system equals an ability to build more dense housing, right, with zero parking. That's the only way you can truly provide affordable housing. I heard some mention of rent control and those things have been proven to fail, because what happens is rent control is property owners, they don't invest in their property. They run them down, and you'll have slum lords again. And we had that happen in the Commonwealth. I mean, we should learn from our past experiences. That's not the way to get reducing of rents. Your question, everyone's.
And I agree with you on the fact that when the landlord is not lowering rents, but on the reverse cycle is when the taxes are higher, rents are getting higher. So there's no question that because they're trickling it down, they're not taking the burden on themselves.
Right,
they're passing it off to their
right.
tenants.
But there's only the market calls for the market calls for if you have a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, there's a market demand. I mean, there's a market number, right? So people just go with what is what's basically out there. The only way to reduce rental costs, and I know we're talking about the Encore monies. So to answer your question, 100% has gone to reduce the tax burden for taxpayers.
And I just one last follow-up question on that, Mayor. So the fact that it's become a money stream line item, so that is not going directly to taxpayers; it's to cover the running of the city because it's
just goes to the general fund.
It's a general fund,
just like you pay your tax bill.
Exactly. So when the budget comes out, it's just incorporated into the budget as a whole. So it does take on operation expenses or a liability,
so if you see the
insurance liability or whatever other, but it's not directly going back to the taxpayers.
It's going to reduce what the taxpayer has to pay.
Yeah, and I
mean, $30 million annually with a 2% increase in the first phase. This is their first building now. They've come into my office with development plans to build the other side of Broadway. They'll be looking to work with some developers to build there. There is you remember that the power plant will be decommissioned in 2024. That 100 acres of land will be available for redevelopment. We are working now to make that another desirable place to build. Even with Exxon and their troubles, right? There may be an opportunity to redevelop that area. Commercial Triangle, we're aggressively trying to market that area to do more building, more construction, and generate more tax dollars for our residents. But we need the Civil Line to stop. We need the commuter rail to stop. We need to make a TOD. Make every development transit-oriented development, and no parking, because we don't need any more traffic. We have plenty of traffic in the city, not even from our residents, from everyone who drives through the city of Everett. Right? You saw the gondola that was just released that Encore is looking to build. That is going to be amazing. It really is. They're going to, their hope is to get that from their site over to Assembly Row. Our hope is to get that into the square. It runs 2,800 people an hour. That's something that we're working on. That could be a boom to our square, this building itself, and all the area around here. To get direct access to a Orange Line spur. Because we're not going to get $100 billion to tunnel and build a T station in Everett Square. So the center lane bus lanes are advancing. The rep and the senator are helping with us, and all of you help by even just supporting and voting in favor of that ordinance, that resolution. So
I yield the floor to my colleagues, but thank you for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to our guest. Good evening. I appreciate the comment that 100% of it goes to, as revenue comes in, to offset taxes. And you mentioned about the budget. Are we level funding next year? Do we anticipate that, or what do we anticipate for next year's budget?
Yeah, so we're looking at that now. Every department has received their budget documents. The message to them has been clear to look at ways to reduce your budget. Right now we're looking at, the possibility of, bringing more firefighters on. Is that something we need to do? We've been in-house talking about that. That number, could be a big number for the city. As we become a virtual city hall, through attrition, we will be looking to reduce headcount. As we look to redesign this building, there is nothing to say that in the future, when you come in and get your birth certificate, or you go to the assessor's office, or you go to the building department, or you go to the collector's office, or the treasurer's office, that the same person can be cross-trained to do all that, right? We'll be looking to do that. I'm not going to lay anybody off. We're not going to lay anyone off, but we will be looking to not backfill positions. We'll be looking to do a lot more online, that you can go on to the website, which, I've been told will be online in the next... Very soon. That's my answer. Very soon. So you'll be able to do a lot of those functions on the internet. Right now, with just a recent Skyping and FaceTiming of appeals, it's been working out tremendously for people, But yeah, so to answer your question, Councilman Capone, we're looking to reduce headcount and positions everywhere where we can.
Okay, great. Last fiscal year, how much money came in from Encore? Roughly.
Last fiscal year?
Yeah.
So only like 1 quarter or 2 quarters?
No, so we received the final 12.5
Right.
additional payment, and that was actually used as a funding source. But we were able to capture, because they opened on June 23rd, prior to the opening, prior to the end of the fiscal year, we were able to prorate those days of operations. So rather than receive that money on the back end of a 15-year deal, we worked with them to collect that money in the fiscal year and keep their payments consistent with the fiscal year. That was about $600,000, a little less.
Okay.
So we only really used from Encore to offset taxes in fiscal year, we're in year 2020, in fiscal year 19, 13, 14 million?
13 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fiscal year 21, we'll probably end up being able to use the whole 30 million.
Well, in fiscal '20 for this fiscal year, we're actually on target for the full 30 million.
full 30 million.
And then
Okay.
next year as well. Again,
Okay.
we have a 2.5% accelerator. But in addition to that, we're going to have a year's worth of data on the local rooms and meals excise. We think it's going to be higher than what we included in this year's number, but as I explained a few months ago, Department of Revenue, they're involved in our tax rate setting policy, and as conservative as we were, they actually wanted us to be even more conservative because they had only been operating for just a few months. And they're conservative. They want to make sure cities and towns don't get themselves in trouble. They understood our conservative approach. That's why I also came in and I wanted to let you guys know there's a chance our free cash flow will be even higher next year than it was this year, given the fact that the numbers that we received through the first 6 months are actually very good, and we're going to beat the estimates that DOR required us to use.
Okay, great. And then I know that the one thing I hear all the time, I'm sure you hear it, I know my colleagues hear it all the time, talking about the taxes. And I understand that single-family house bill has gone down.
Right.
But two-family house bills, three-family house bills, commercial bills, those haven't gone down.
Commercials went down.
Well, I'm a little bit, yeah, but
Commercial went down.
I'm still getting a lot of raw from those sections.
I think twos and threes may, I don't know if anyone here lives in a two owns a two or three, but you own a two that you occupy, correct? You own a three you occupy, you didn't have an increase. You came down, right.
Yeah.
So John's
Yep,
went down,
yeah.
yeah. So a lot, if you're a non-owner occupied property owner,
You're
like
not gonna
myself
see it,
and
right.
Councilman Marchese, we own a
Yep.
couple pieces that we don't live in. We've seen an increase in our non-occupied properties that we collect rents on, right?
Yeah.
So, but for the majority of those who own their home and live in them, they all got a reduction, and my goal is to get them to reduce again next year.
Good, because
And
they're
thereafter.
asking for more.
They're asking for more, right?
So
Once you give
we
them a
wa-
little, they want
yeah,
more. They want
we
more.
want to try that. And then the other thing too is with the rents and the supply and demand. And I buy that to a point, but the reality is it's a little bit more than that, because if the taxes do remain high or higher, if they don't come down, even though you put more units out there, you're not making it any more affordable for the property owner to be able to maintain their property. It just means there's more units for people to go after, which is good. But we have to be fair to everybody.
Eventually, if you
Yeah.
have a lot of supply, and then you are unable to rent them, you will start decreasing your costs.
You will.
Right?
But
So we have to put an
yeah.
ample supply. It's a hot place to live.
Yeah.
In and around the city of Boston. And it's not because of Encore. Everyone's like, because of Encore. No. It's because with proximity to,
sure.
with the recent, putting in the city on the map, it's become an attractive place to want to move to. But it's been happening for a while.
Yeah,
right?
proximity to Boston, you can't
right.
beat it,
Right.
and the quality of life, et cetera. But the concern I have, and the point that I want to make to you, is that you put the extra supply out there, in theory, your supply increases, so therefore the demand takes a little bit of a hit there. You can get lower rents. But to the property owner, someone who lives in their house, I'm not talking about someone who has a 15-unit building.
Right.
I'm not worried about them.
Right, oh, yeah.
But, someone who's living in a two-family and rents one and lives in one.
Correct.
If their taxes aren't coming down at the same time that we're putting more supply into the mix, then basically what happens is they end up taking less. And some folks live off of that. So they need to find a way in order to work their budget, in order to come down with the additional money. So I think that the additional supply, and then anything that we can do on the city side to try to make it
Yeah,
more
oh, yeah.
affordable, that's the perfect marriage.
But owner-occupied properties, twos and threes, did see a reduction in their taxes.
Okay,
And they will continue to see a reduction. Owner-occupied properties will continue to see a reduction.
good.
You
And
know,
that's what they're asking for us,
yeah.
and that's what we're all looking to try to
Right.
do. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Marchese.
Question for either the mayor or Mr. Demus. What is how much money we lose on taxes when the power plant becomes decommissioned?
How much will we be losing?
Losing. What do they presently pay?
Presently, they pay $15 million.
Is that for both?
That's
The old
for,
one and the new one?
that's for 1 through 7 has been decommissioned, so 8 and 9.
8, 9? So
But their TIF expires this year.
this year.
And they've been approved by FERC to power for the next 6 years? 7 years?
At least through 2024, looking for another 2-year extension, but
That's the
it's
new,
not a long-term
that's the newest one,
8 and 9.
Yeah.
8, 9? And will that go up in taxes, or will that,
We believe so.
well, after the TIF, what will happen after that? That TIF's been there for 20 years, I think, now.
Right. TIF is over. They'll go at a valuation of, we believe it's valued at 1.2 billion, 1.6 billion.
That's what cost to build it, I believe, at the time,
That
20
was the
years
cost to
ago.
build it, right? So,
That's their total investment since the date of the project's inception.
Yep.
We're actually, given the fact we are coming off a 20-year TIF, we've actually hired appraisers that specialize in energy producing facilities, and we're working on that valuation now because we know that obviously they're going to disagree with whatever number we come up with. So we're making sure that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed.
and they won't be paying 15 million, that's for sure.
Well, they should have been paying that 15 years ago.
I
when
agree.
all that went through.
Something we both agree on.
Mr. Davis, you were talking about a 15-year deal. What, did you imply something about a 15-year deal with Encore?
It's the term of the community host agreement.
Okay, so what would happen after 15 years?
We would
Renegotiate.
renegotiate.
Renegotiate? Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Any further questions for the mayor? And
Oh, but to get back, excuse me, 1 second. The percentage we put in, we know that most of the money comes in from Encore, whatever, goes into a lot of money in free cash. Would use it at the discretion of the mayor to put it where he
No, it
wants
doesn't.
to.
If it goes into free cash only if we say we're going to take in, from meals and hotel taxes, we're going to take in 2 million, but we end up taking 5 million.
Yeah.
So in our budget, we have a line item where we say we're going to take in from room taxes and meals taxes for 2-3 million. All of a sudden, we take 5. That 2 million goes to free cash.
Yeah.
And I believe what the council and myself were doing, we put percentages up there. I think we're trying to find a designated mark somewhere. We say, we go, well, if we took it to 30, at least we know there's 15, so when someone asks us, where's the money go, we'd have something to say, and I believe that's what council.
I think the easiest way is revenues and expenditures. Revenues that we take in, the money we spend, that's what it comes down to. So the revenue we're taking in, unless we allocate to spend that somewhere else, like we want to spend it on, I don't know, we want to spend 100 million on building then you'll see that in the budget.
But what that does allow for overspending, because we can be compensated. That's what I'm saying. So if we had a budget of something, we spent over $8 million over, we could use that money to compensate that 8 million that went over the budget.
No, we can't do that unless we come before you.
Okay, I know, because last year's came before, had the 207 million, or it was, and we allocated 7 million, or whatever it was, to reduce the taxes. You more or less, you put it
use
there.
$7 million of free
Yeah,
cash.
you said if you
to
don't use the
reduce
free
tax
cash
levy.
on there, you won't get that tax break. That's what it came
Yes.
down to. Okay. I'm just saying, we were looking for a constant figure that we know would be on there all the time.
Because we use the 7 million, all we received from Encore was $12 million at that time.
Yeah, the first
Right,
payment.
right.
All right,
So-
thank you.
any further questions for our guests? If not, excuse with the customary thanks. And what's your pleasure, Counselor?
So, Madam Chairwoman, I thank the mayor and CEO for appearing this evening. I'll, at this time, refer this piece back to sponsor. Thank
So
you.
I have a motion to refer it back to sponsor. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You have referred back to sponsor.
Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn. I do have a second. Have adjourned.